Greetings, unsettled souls. Welcome to the Correct Views. Sam IB to Gangi reporting for the Media Speaks. There won't be a high def today because the part that holds the camera to the tripod has been lost in the merch table by Christelle. So we have no high def whatsoever. That means, well, it means you should listen live, is what it means. Hello, low def live people. Steve Watson InfoWars, pictures and footage you won't see on TV. Baltimore citizens are done with mindless rioters. Now, let me tell you something. I've been avoiding this topic like the plague because I feel like I've already said everything that I've had to say about this during Ferguson. It didn't make any sense to me then, and it doesn't make any sense to me now. If you act like a thug, no matter what color you are, you're a thug. That is not racist. That is not derogatory. I do not think that race has anything to do with it whatsoever, other than the fact that the media is fueling the fire to get races to fight each other. Because if we actually unify, and I've said this repeatedly, if we just unify and listen to reason, which no one does anymore, then we'd actually notice how much we are being hosed by the people that keep us at each other's throats. And I've gone over that a lot. So what I'm going to do is go over some reporting commentary, if you will, on this that you probably haven't heard. A side of it that isn't being reported because it doesn't fit into their black versus white paradigm. Because blacks and whites both are starting to wake up from much of this. And I guarantee you haven't been hearing about it. It said it seems that the lone Vietnam veteran, we'll get to him in a minute, who took a stand against violent looters Monday, has inspired a real uprising in Baltimore against the rioters. Incredible scenes, underreported and barely covered by the mainstream media, unfolded just ahead of the designated curfew yesterday as citizens lined up and even held hands in front of police lines, putting themselves in direct line of fire of bottles, bricks, and other rocks being thrown towards the cops. Their message to the rioters was, "Enough of this shit." Direct quote from the news. There's images here of blacks and whites holding hands walking down the street. There's many, many black people standing in front of the cops, preventing the rioters from throwing rocks at them. There's a little boy giving water to the police. You'll be able to see all these graphics in no time. We're ordering what we need to get the graphics up. Thank you, Angela. Very happy to see this. You're not hearing anything about it at all, but you've got citizens standing outside of businesses and properties guarding against looters, and they're cleaning up the debris from the rioters that were left behind. Yep, black and white together. You're not hearing anything about this on the news. It says real protesters engaged police in conversations, even voicing their concerns over incidents of police brutality. Police officers even agreed with some of them. Overheard one cop to the other. There's a lot of press. Yeah, I don't know what they're waiting for. They're just standing there talking. And it says, of course, none of this makes for compelling rolling news like smashing and chaos does. That's one reason you haven't heard about it. It is a timely reminder that those who engage in violent rioting and looting are only encouraging further police authoritarianism, a fact everyday citizens appear to be embracing in Baltimore. Very good to see. Who's that they were talking about? I bet you want to know. I'll tell you. Video. Brave Vietnam vet stands up to rioting children in Baltimore. I love my country. I love my charm city. I am not black, white, red, yellow, or nothing. Amidst the chaos in Baltimore, one proud American decided enough was enough and stepped in front of police lines to confront and shame hoodlum rioters who were going home. CNN cameras captured the man, a Vietnam veteran named Robert Ballantyne, a hero, making a stand against the violent thugs the media ludicrously continues to refer to as protesters. And don't tell me that calling them thugs is somehow racist. That bonehead tried to say that it was comparative to the N-word. It is not. That this Vietnam vet is black. Guess what? He's not a thug, nor is he an N-word. Boneheaded statements like that. That's how you listen to some bonehead say that, and then you're like, oh man, I guess thug is racist. You out of your mind. Says, I've seen violence. They need to have their butts at home. They need to be in their home units with their families, studying and doing something with their life, Valentine told the reporter. And it makes sense because a lot of this is caused by outsourcing. A lot of this is caused by sending our good jobs overseas. A lot of these people would be working in factories making an equivalence today, $15, $18, $19 an hour. Instead, we have allowed these jobs to be sent out of these cities, which is why hellholes like Detroit are even there. I know this isn't Detroit, but you get the point. I guarantee there was outsourcing in Baltimore. And what you're seeing is the destruction. You're seeing what happens when there's not two parents raising children anymore. You're seeing what happens when there's no good jobs and the parents have to work insane amounts of hours and not raise their children properly because otherwise they can't afford to eat. It says the rioters, described as children by CNN reporter Joe Johns, taunted Valentine and hurled rocks and bricks at him and the police. Valentine stood his ground, however, gesticulating back and yelling at the rioters to go home. So these rioters who are standing up for black people seem to only be standing up for other rioting black people because they threw bricks at this hero. Valentine said he was just a soldier standing up for his city and his country against those who wished to tear it down. I did 30 years, okay? Came out a master sergeant, Valentine said. I've seen more than all of this. I've been through the riots already, he added, and I love my country. I read that quote to you at the beginning. Valentine added, the rioters and looters are to do not disrespect this young man's death, referring to the 25-year-old Mr. Freddie Gray, who died following a brutal altercation with police last week. Do I think that the police that did that to him need to be sent to prison? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think the police were wrong, and I think the rioters have a right to be upset. But this man hasn't even had his day in court yet. How would these rioters like it if they never got their day in court? It says the government and the DHS would have Americans believe that veterans like Valentine constitute one of the biggest threats to their safety and society in general. Remember, you always hear that, it's the returning vets. They're going to be deadly. Or Paul Joseph Watson tweeted out as these people are jumping on and destroying a police car. Remember, according to the feds, it's those dangerous right-wingers that you have to worry about. Clearly, it is not a bunch of right-wingers that did this to the police car. Others who understand that mindless rioting will only give police more incentive to crack skulls have also been taking a stand and attempting to stop the chaos. Video has surfaced of another brave man stepping in between police and rioters in an attempt to prevent violence. Don't give them a reason, the man can be heard telling the crowd. You can't give them a reason. Listen to me. Do not give them a reason. And I agree. The police have a right to defend themselves as well. Said it is clear that a majority of the so-called protesters are very young, disaffected people who simply want to cause trouble and damage property. These people are causing the very serious issue of police brutality to become an afterthought. One child has been reprimanded by his mother, and of course that's gone viral. You guys know that video by now. And she was black too. So don't give me this notion that it's these crazy, evil black people out there doing this, and that's what white people are supposed to believe. And blacks, I'm sure most of you don't think that the average white man is in favor of what the police did to Freddie. I don't believe anybody with a brain on their head thinks that. So there's actually some good news in this Baltimore mess, and that people are waking up. Well, for those of you that want bad news regarding it, we've got our last story here dealing with this. And keep in mind, the police let the rioters riot. They gave them room to riot. That's ridiculous. They should have had room to have been shot. You break into somebody's business, you get what's coming to you. That's why An armed society is a polite society. You didn't see them going after businesses where the people were armed, did you? No, you didn't. Especially look back at Ferguson. The armed people were the only people that could protect themselves, right? Well, listen to this. Thank you, Walmart. Walmart in Baltimore refusing ammo sales. So therefore, when the thugs hit the street and your average, Joe Schmo is like, well, I've got like enough bullets for to load the gun. I think I need to get some more bullets in case these angry mobs come after my house. Walmart wasn't selling them bullets. No, but you're going to say, oh, well, that's to prevent the thugs from getting more ammo. Don't you think the thugs already had ammo? I doubt they went to Walmart and bought ammo before the riot. I highly doubt that. I really don't think that happened. This is just absolute madness. A Walmart in Baltimore is refusing to sell ammo to customers in the aftermath of riots that swept the city this week, according to journalist Charles Johnson. Johnson, who has, it says, written for the Wall Street Journal and the Weekly Standard, relates how his cousin, who lives in Baltimore, was turned away by Walmart during a bizarre exchange that suggests that the retail giant has instituted a policy to remove ammunition from its shelves. Now, you've heard people say, too, why do you need a gun that you can shoot a whole spray of bullets real fast for? All right, how about if you live in an area and 15 or 20 rioters come to your door in a mob, like they go into the convenience stores in mobs and take everything and run out the freaking door, what are you going to do when that happens to your house? Don't you think you might need more than 10 bullets? Well, now you can't even get your 10 bullets because Walmart thinks it knows best. It's nanny state. No ammo on the shelves. This is a store 30 minutes from downtown, wrote the individual, adding, if you couldn't specifically ask for what you wanted, they refused to sell it to you. However, another customer who did specifically ask for a certain type of ammo and an amount was also turned away empty-handed, so Walmart lied. The Walmart employee told the individual that any ammo which wasn't visible on store shelves was unavailable as a result of the policy that had been put in place. Well, I don't see any ammo on the shelves, the customer said, to which the Walmart responded, exactly. So now it's up to Walmart to decide whether or not you can protect yourself. So many reasons not to support this store. Ask Christelle. I'll drive out of the way not to shop there. Some would probably applaud Walmart, it says, I mentioned that, for the decision to restrict ammo given the chaotic scenes that were witnessed on Monday afternoon when rioters looted numerous stores across the city. However, in failing to exercise discretion in deciding who gets to purchase ammunition, Walmart is helping to ensure that property and business owners are left defenseless against violent mobs. No information has yet been published on whether ammunition and gun sales have spiked in Baltimore after this week's riots. In the aftermath of violent unrest in Ferguson, Missouri last year, many gun stores reported frenzied buying sprees, and alarmed residents sought to protect themselves from further disorder. And you know what? Like I said, the people that protected their business and made it well known with spray paint when they boarded up the windows that they were armed, those were in fact people that didn't get their houses and or businesses robbed. Moving on to the most bizarre story. I can't even believe I have to report on this. It doesn't make any damn sense. Brought to you by Change Taxi, by the way. Make sure you price check anywhere you're going to go. If you're calling a cab, call Change Taxi. If you're within about 50 miles of Canton, speaking of cars, and we'll get that price matched for you. Help EFF defend the right to tinker with your own car. The feds are moving to control the automobile industry totally. This is EFF.org. Vehicle manufacturers like General Motors and John Deere are citing a particularly strange erroneous provision in copyright law to claim that you need permission to tinker with, repair, and innovate around your own car. According to them, you may own the parts, but you don't own your copies of the car software that makes them work. For months, we have been working to fix that by calling on the Librarian of Congress to issue an exemption to this provision, as they should. And where the hell is Anonymous when you need them? Why don't they already have that code out there the moment the car comes out? Why is that? Why is there so many things we need Anonymous for, and they do some of the dumbest things. Yes, I support them, but I wish they had their head on their shoulders better. Now the car companies have taken notice. They've come out in force to insist that you don't really own your car, and there's a link, and that you can only tinker with or even look at the code if you have their permission. Manufacturers were remarkably transparent about their real fears: potential competition from unauthorized people, making cars more useful through aftermarket add ons, and more competition in the repair market. It goes on that as far as repairs go, the manufacturers have been pointing to a voluntary deal struck with a group of right to repair advocates, and you can find a PDF for this in the article. It says it's a call to arms have been demonstrated, but the reality of the ground is quite different from the rosy picture painted by manufacturers, something that can likely be explained by the loopholes and limitations in the deal. Make that they've cured all harms, I should say. It only applies to about half of the vehicles on the road today, most notably excluding older cars as well as all trucks, motorcycles, and RVs. It only applies to certain diagnostic information and tools, and the available information is expensive enough that repair shops can't afford to support as many vehicle makes as they used to, before auto repair became a copyright issue. And to get this deal, those right to repair advocates have to agree and not to support any new right to repair legislation. What is that? On top of that, of course, the deal regarding repair information doesn't provide the freedom to do research or modification of vehicle software that's needed for aftermarket businesses, hobbyists like open garages, and researchers who study the safety and security of vehicles. So none of them. You can't even modify your own car now. The public gets it. We've been flooded with questions from individuals, mechanics, innovators, researchers, and trade associations about how they can help. There are two ways to help right now. First, if you have knowledge or experience relating to the proposed exemptions, you can help debunk the manufacturer's arguments by commenting on the Copyright Office. The deadline to do this is Friday, May 1st. That's why I'm reporting on it today. Your comments will be especially meaningful if you fall into one or more of these categories, and there's a whole lot. Individuals who bought a car and were never given any license telling them they didn't own the copies of the software on it. Individuals who never had to access their own vehicle software to do a major repair or diagnose a problem, or had an independent mechanic send them to the dealer because they didn't have the equipment to do it themselves. It would also include mechanics to have subcontract out computer work to dealers because of limited access to necessary information and tools. There's more on here. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but you can read it yourself. It's at EFF.com. Also, you can sign up and add your name to the petition, which I did, and submit along with it the comments on Friday, May 1st. Got to get these in. Together, you can show the Copyright Office that we must not let manufacturers lock drivers out of their own cars. And there was a comment here that I really want to find. This is from TB. It was a comment on InfoWars' comment line. Simple answer that is also the best choice as far as performance goes. Remove the factory computer and replace it with an aftermarket tunable unit like the Haltech, HALTEC, or Negativity. So there you go. I bet you didn't know that. So that's why you listen to the correct views. It's a way around it entirely. You simply change the computer. Do I know how to do that? No, I don't know how to do anything on a car. But for people that are doing this every day, it's quite simple, I've been told. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views, and The Correct Views is brought to you in part by Sticker Junkie. Look at these awesome stickers. These stickers that I'm showing you were printed by Sticker Junkie, and upside down and all. They printed them upside down. No, I did this logo, and this is what Sticker Junkie made out of it. Pretty freaking cool, huh? Becoming Paul Revere, that's our movie. All these stickers, they're from Sticker Junkie. If you have some idea what you want your stickers to look like, go to stickerjunkie.com. Let David Lake know that you heard about it on The Correct Views, and you'll get a really good deal. How's that? That's exactly what will happen. Friends, I got 3 stories to get to. This is a nightmare here. Just awful. Paul Joseph Watson. PayPal had once Brainchips to replace passwords. The new technology will have to fit inside cultural norms to be accepted. Yeah, sure. Let's just train our youth to go ahead and put brain chips into their head. PayPal's global head of developer evangelism, Jonathan LeBlanc, is pushing implantable brain chips as a replacement for passwords, but insists that such technology must be made to fit inside cultural norms before it can be accepted by the general public. In other words, erase all religion, and it's not just Christianity that warns of this, though that is a big one. Erase all fear of infection, erase all fear of hacking, erase all fear of somebody wanting the password so bad that they cut your head off. Have you thought about that? If you store this in your head and you're some hotshot person, say you're a nuclear physicist in Iran, perhaps, people are going to cut your freaking head off to get the password, for one thing. That's just one of many glaring problems here that you never hear anybody talk about. Even PJ Dub doesn't mention that in here. In a presentation called Kill All Passwords, LeBlanc admits that the future of authentication security is going to get creepy as traditional passwords are phased out due to the innumerable security flaws. Yeah, like keeping your head upon your shoulders. LeBlanc envisions using brain chips to measure thought patterns so that childhood memories could be invoked by the user to unlock their computer. LeBlanc also discusses how biohacking companies are already using embedded NFC and RFID tags to unlock doors. In January, the BBC reported on a company in Sweden that was implanting its workers with computer chips under the skin in order for them to access the building. The hell you would, I would quit. Daily ID chips with Wi Fi sensors could also be swallowed by employees to provide more secure authentication, says LeBlanc. PayPal is currently working with partners to get the ball rolling on such technology, a process LeBlanc says is part of the payment processor becoming a thought leader on the transition. How about somebody open up an alternative to PayPal, because you're probably going to make a fortune when people do not want to be brain chipped in order to buy a Blu-ray. Boneheads. I can't speculate as to why PayPal will do in the future, what we will do in the future, but we're looking at new techniques. We do have fingerprint scanning, and that is being worked on right now. So we're definitely looking at the identity field, LeBlanc told the Wall Street Journal. Realistically, the ones that will succeed, whether it's embeddable, ingestible, injectable, or what have you, are the ones that are going to play into cultural norms. In other words, brainwash the children into thinking that this is a good idea and that it's safe. They don't know any better, so teach it to them. The ones that are going to meet the demands of the populace overall and not be creepy. So even though they seem creepy at the current time, the future, it says the future are going to be the ones that hit those cultural norms, said LeBlanc. In other words, they're going to be falsely taught that this is a good idea. LeBlanc's identification of cultural norms is a major hurdle to be overcome before the public becomes comfortable with the wearable ID technology or implantable chips, echoes those sentiments made by Google executive Regina Dugan. It says that during the 2013 D11 conference, Dugan said that Google was working on an ingestible microchip that would turn the user's entire body into a biological authentication system for cell phones, cars, doors, and other devices. The company is also developing a wearable e-tattoo that can decipher a user's thoughts by detecting the unvocalized words in their throat. Yeah, you won't be able to pick that up at all. Yeah, that won't be easy to read. You can't hack something. No, not at all. Dugan predicted that young people would want to adopt the e-tattoo if it was made to look cool and was even as a form of rebellion against their parents. Yeah, get your credit card hacked. That's how to rebel. Dugan's role in developing such technology can be placed in a somewhat sinister context, given that she is the former director of Defense Advanced Research Projects, DARPA, an agency of the U.S. Department of Defense, which many see as a pioneer of a dystopian Big Brother surveillance society. Right? I mean, even if it's half as bad as they say, it's not good. Google CEO Eric Schmidt even suggested earlier this year that the internet itself could one day disappear as an external concept, greasing the skid for the World Wide Web to exist inside people's brains. That's a remarkably bad idea on so many levels. If you would like to be bored stiff, if I actually have to explain it to you, leave a comment. I'll do so. In December of 2013, Google engineering director Scott Huffman also predicted that within 5 years, web users would have microphones attached to their ceilings and microchips embedded in their brains in order to perform quicker internet searches. Yeah, then no chance of any of that being hacked. You can hack your neighbor's Wi-Fi and get on the internet for free. What do you think's going to happen when all this begins to become a reality. Absolute nightmare. Friends, two stories to get to. Many of you know I've been swarmed and overrun by dumdies. Too many dumb stories to get to. So I'm doing two dumdies because the Dunce Cap of the Month award is in fact coming very soon. This is EAG News, April 29th. This was dated. I got on it right away. Parent, school wouldn't let 5-year-old eat home-packed Oreos. Now, I'm not saying it's a good idea to eat a bunch of Oreos. I'm really not. As a matter of fact, look up Tony Orlando and Oreos. I know you're going to laugh, but it was a story that my mom used to tell. Tony Orlando went through a depression spell and went insane eating Oreo cookies. And he went from what many women found as one of the most desirable men alive at the time to a great big round pudgy dough ball. It happened because of Oreos. However, most things in moderation are fine. Maybe not plutonium, but most things, okay? Work with me here. If the parent okays the snack, that's the final court of arbitration unless God himself steps in. The school has lost their mind here, and that's why they get the dumdy of the day, especially for the way they tried to answer it. They tried to say it doesn't happen, even though it did. A Colorado preschool blocked a girl from eating part of her lunch after a teacher deemed it unhealthy. Tell the teacher to shut her damn mouth. It's none of her business. Lisa Pearson says she packed her daughter, a student at Children's Academy, a ham and cheese sandwich, string cheese, and a 4-pack of Oreos last Friday. When her child returned home, the cookies were still in the lunchbox and were accompanied by a note from the school. Dear parents, it is very important that all students have a nutritious lunch. This is a public school setting, and all children are required to have a fruit, a vegetable, and a heavy snack from home, along with a milk. If you have potatoes, the child will also need to bring along bread with it. Lunchables, chips, fruit snacks, and peanut butter are not considered to be a healthy snack. This is a very important part of our program, and we need everyone's participation. We need you to go to hell. It's none of your business. Pearson's daughter says her teacher didn't allow her to eat the cookies during lunch because they won't have enough nutritional value, according to 9 News. So you should eat nothing. The school pled ignorance about the note, saying it should not have gone out to any parent. They say it is not school policy to tell children what they can eat for lunch and what they can't. Well, obviously, it seems to be becoming a policy now, doesn't it? As you take the little girl's cookies away, what the hell is wrong with people? What the school thinks is healthy for her is not what I think is healthy for her, the mother says. That's between me and her and our doctor, not the school. Good. It's not the first time Oreos have been treated like contraband. It said last month a science class was learning about the Earth tectonic plates using Oreos. A permission slip was sent home to Pennsylvania parents requiring approval to allow their child to eat the cookie at the conclusion of the lesson. The students may eat the Oreo after the investigation, mind you, if this is okay with you. Science teacher Darlene Porter's note to parents at Welsh Valley Middle School students read to the Daily News. The students do not have to eat the Oreo if they do not wish to. Well, how very kind of you. Absolute mind rot. Friends, that brings us to the last of the dumdy of the day. Here goes to Bill Nye. So many people really like this guy. He's really not one of my favorite science people. I do a lot of science research for the News from the Science Front. That is at the Media Speaks, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time each and every single Saturday. Bill Nye is one of these idiots that believe that man is warming the planet. And as ClimateGate and Lord Monckton and many other people have proven ad nauseum, that's not the case. Man is not warming the planet. But that's not why he's getting the dumdy of the day. Listen to this. Bill Nye brags about boarding gas guzzling Air Force One to combat climate change. Bill Nye and the later works of who's the guy that has trouble speaking? The physicist. His later works, his name will come to me. Stephen Hawking, the most overrated scientists ever. Bill Nye and the science guy bragged about flying with President Obama on Air Force One. which will burn more than 35,000 gallons of fuel on Earth Day, to the Florida Everglades to combat man-made climate change. Listen to this bonehead's tweet. Heading down to D.C. to catch an Earth Day flight on Air Force One tomorrow with the president, he tweeted. We're going to act on climate. You're going to act on the climate. That's hypocrisy at its finest. Air Force One burns 5 gallons of fuel for every mile that it flies, a shocking 0.20 miles per gallon. Air Force One isn't just making the trip from D.C. to the Everglades on Earth Day. The presidential aircraft will travel more than 7,100 miles across 2 continents, burning an estimated 35,609 gallons of jet fuel. Now you see why he's getting the numbty of the day. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the statistics arm of the Department of Energy, burning each gallon emits 21.1 pounds of carbon dioxide, bringing the president's Earth Day carbon footprint to more than 375.7 tons. David Matroskos of the Daily Mail reported. The White House, it says, did not respond to the question about any measures it might be taking, planting trees, for instance, to offset those emissions. Nye's trip aboard Air Force One to act on climate was met with severe criticism. PJ Dub wrote, flying climate change by flying on a plane that consumes 5 gallons of jet fuel per mile. Well done. Another user, Bella, called the science guy's hypocrisy ironic. Celebrate Earth Day by burning a bunch of jet fuel for fun, she tweeted. Nye's hypocrisy, however, isn't just surprising because his climate change advocacy isn't about saving the environment, but rather empowering the establishment, which benefits him as a government shill addicted to the public spotlight. Think about this. Who funds the mainstream scientists like Bill Nye the most? The government. You can look that up. Who benefits from scaring the public into believing that there is a man-made climate change? The government. Man-made climate change is a manufactured problem played up by the government to instigate a public reaction, fear. The government then exploits to offer a premeditated solution. The expansion of government at the public's expense, like imposing carbon taxes, for example. In other words, they create a problem that isn't there, and then they make you pay for it. The strategy, known as the Hegelian dialectic, has been used successfully by politicians for millennia. We've covered that here a lot. And it's been used to expand government, which can only grow at the expense of individual liberties. State-funded scientists are given thousands and even millions of dollars to help promote the myth of global warming by fitting their data into the fear-mongering agenda. It's already been well established that the agenda-driven data is both politicized and downright inaccurate, and there's links all over here. If you believe in global warming, you won't when you're done reading the logic that's in these links. It says the alarmists believe if you tell a lie long enough, the public will believe it. And you know what? I think they're sadly right. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views. Sam I.B. Gangi signing off. Reminding you to go to themediaspeaks.com and look up the work of Kyle Court D. Lake and myself. We're always posting nonstop news, information all the time. I also want to give a shout out to Mike McLaughlin, who supports the show. Mike McLaughlin is a writer, and you can look him up at facebook.com. MacLauglin. Let him know you heard about him from The Correct Views. He writes fiction. He is a political. He writes a lot of political stuff lately. Poetry. You're going to get engaged and you love somebody, buy a poem. It's better than these Hallmark cards that get worse and worse. And if you want to donate to the show like he does, you can do so at The Correct Views at hotmail.com. Every penny you give to me goes towards a better show. Listener Angela sent us some money, and we are in the process of getting our graphics back. Thank you for listening, friends. Do me a big favor and share the show, because nothing helps it grow better than when you do that. Good night, friends. God bless.